Okay, you may or may not have figured this out yet, but you can't message a video longer than about 3 minutes on the text mechanism on a cell phone. So what you have to do is record whatever it is you're going to record and upload it to YouTube. That's pretty easy. You just have to have an account with YouTube. It's free. It's easy to set up, and you can just upload it. It takes a while because it doesn't upload very fast. Anyway, I hope you'll take advantage of that because I'm really interested in hearing what you folks have to share. Tonight, I'm going to share something that I know a couple of you are familiar with, Dusty Roach. Well, I'm going to read from James Weldon Johnson's book, God's Trombones. I'm going to read Go Down Death. First time I ever heard this poem, it was read by Dusty Roach, and I was in junior high school, 9th grade at John Glenn Junior High School, and I was immediately entranced by the poem. I don't know if it's how Dusty read it or just the beautiful language or what. Anyway, thank you, Dusty, for turning me on to this poem. Now, back in 2000, I adapted the book. The book God's Trombones is a collection of sermons that it's called 7 Negro Sermons in Verse, God's Trombones. See, here it is. And as you can see, I adapted it for a church service. Right there, I think it says adapted for church service or something by Doug Hayden. And we put it on as the church service back in 2000. And I know Don Hines will remember that because he was part of the cast. And he did a wonderful job, despite the fact that I was the director. So anyway, I'd like to read to you from God's Trombones. The poem is Go Down Death. It's a funeral sermon. And I owe my love for this poem to Dusty Roach. And so I'm dedicating this reading to you, Dusty. Weep not, weep not. She is not dead. Heartbroken husband, weep no more. Grief-stricken son, weep no more. Left lonesome daughter, weep no more. She's only just gone home. Day before yesterday morning, God was looking down from God's great high heaven, looking down on all God's children. And God's eye fell on Sister Caroline, tossing on her bed of pain. And God's big heart was touched with pity, with the everlasting pity. And God sat back on the throne and commanded that tall, bright angel standing at God's right hand, "Call me Death." And that tall, bright angel cried in a voice that broke like a clap of thunder, "Call Death! Call Death!" And the echo sounded down the streets of heaven till it reached away back to that shadowy place where death waits with the pale white horses. And death heard the summons, and death leaped on the fastest horse, pale as a sheet in the moonlight. Up the golden street death galloped, and the hooves of the horse struck fire from the gold. But they didn't make no sound. Up death rode to the great white throne and waited for God's command. And God said, "Go down, death, go down. Go down to Savannah, Georgia. down in Yamacraw and find Sister Caroline. She's borne the burden and the heat of the day. She's labored long in my vineyard, and she's tired. She's weary. Go down, Death, and bring her to me. And Death didn't say a word, but loosed the reins on the pale white horse and clamped the spurs to the bloodless horse flesh, and out and down Death rode. Through heaven's pearly gates, past suns and moons and stars, on Death rode, and the foam from Death's horse was like a comet in the sky. On Death rode, leaving the lightning's flash behind. Straight on down Death came. While we were watching round her bed, she turned her eyes and looked away. She saw what we couldn't see. She saw old Death. She saw old Death coming like a falling star. But Death didn't frighten Sister Caroline. Death looked to her like a welcome friend. And she whispered to us, "I'm going home." And she smiled and closed her eyes. And Death took her up like a baby. And she lay in Death's icy arms, but she didn't feel no chill. And Death began to ride again, up beyond the evening star, out beyond the morning star, into the glittering light of glory, on to the great white throne. And there Death laid Sister Caroline on the loving breast of Jesus. And Jesus took his own hand and wiped away her tears. And he smoothed the furrows from her face, and the angels sang a little song. And Jesus rocked her in his arms and kept saying, "Take your rest, take your rest, take your rest." Weep not, weep not. She is not dead. She's resting in the bosom of Jesus.